Good morning, Ken Alloway. Thank you, mate, for making this. I really wasn't expecting anybody from the mod team to be up at this ungodly hour, so thank you, my friend. Can I ask for a sound check, because obviously I've still got this sound issue that I'm working with my hardware provider to resolve. Grateful just to confirm that you can hear me reasonably clearly. Thanks, Ken. I'll dispense with the headphones because clearly I'm getting no sound out of it at all. Long story short, without getting into the nitty gritty, sounds to me like the manufacturers are going to swap my box essentially. So there doesn't seem to be a software workaround to any of this. So it's just a case of working out how to best sequence that in relation to upcoming broadcasts. Bit frustrated, but there you go. So keep me on the straight and narrow. How are you today anyway? Looks like KLM are on the move, so we're going to get some nice early action. I'm not sure which way we're going to be going here. I think it'll be runway 25. There's your KLM, or a bit of the KLM. Not bad, my friend, not bad. It's got a full day today actually. When we finish streaming, myself and Mrs. Plane Sailing Aviation have got granddaughter for the day, so I'm sure that's going to be exciting. She's just under 12 months old, so as you can imagine, you've got to watch her like a hawk, and she's absolutely into everything. Anyway, mate, thanks again. It's I always think it's above and beyond this hour. I do it for, you know, reasons of experimentation as much as everything, because some people are able to catch an early stream before they go to work, or they live in other time zones, but yeah, it is early. Anyway, we're going to find out for certain whether we're running runway 25. I think we are. Although I'd be delighted if we were to continue with those 7s, because we'll get some nice early close-up shots, but no, not going to happen, is it? Off it goes. Tell you what, the sunshine here is absolutely gorgeous, although it was, in fact, as I was driving here, and I'll cover the weather report in a bit, a very paltry 0 degrees. I had to scrape the car, although to be fair, the heater would have fetched it off in about 10 seconds. It was the most cursory of frosts. Ooh, bit of rabbit action in the foreground. Just scampered past. Sorry about that. And of course, talking of scampering, there goes our KLM. It was just standing watching me for a nanosecond, but I guess as I tweaked the camera around, it probably thought I was going to shoot at it or something. We have a lot of equipment, but certainly not the means of shooting at rabbits. Hands full, definitely, Ken. Definitely. To be fair, it's a bit of a forte. See the sunshine coming back off the fuselage. It's a pretty fierce early sun, so that'll be interesting as to how that works for us. Yeah, we're kind of later on in May. We are full time until, well, until the summer really. Although when I say full time, I think more Mrs. Plane Sailing Aviation full time and me mostly full time. Quite looking forward to it, to be quite honest with you. Of course, you can always ask me whether I'm still looking forward to it once I've got some hours in under my belt, consecutive days and all that, but yeah, she's a beauty. Well, KLM's certainly in business today, out the blocks nice and early, due to go at 6:05, so pretty much bang on the money. Can't quite work out the emoji, Ken, the South Air shear, the thing in blue. I've in my specs. Cold, I'm thinking, but I can't be sure. You see, just looking at that, you could convince yourself you were in June, couldn't you, really? So, just having a quick look around the apron. Some de-icing action about to be occurring shortly. We'll pick that up in a jiffy. So good morning to folks. I've noticed the count starting to tick up. Welcome to Plane Sailing Aviation. I'm Mark, your host. Early bird show today, on air till about 8 o'clock. Between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. It rather depends how the movements play out for us, because obviously I don't want to be just showing you nothing. There is a decent number of movements planned for today, which is good. We'll come on to the nuts and bolts in a bit. So in terms of departures, it's mainly a departure focused show. We are operating runway 25 of the single runway here, which for those of you who may not be familiar is basically, if you kept going past the plane as it's preparing to line up, keep going that way, you're heading out to the North Sea, which is where they're going to come in from, taking off to the west. Bit hazy, unfortunately. That's what you're going to get here at this time of day, shooting the full length of the runway. You see there's a road at the back, the other side of that hedge. Jet 2 are pushing back as well. Ken, yes, you are in a bit of an echo chamber this morning. Folks sitting in the lounge at the minute, do jump in. It's a friendly place to be. Of course, if you're just getting ready for work, or having got in from work, or waking up, perhaps you don't feel quite as chatty at the minute, but you're in good company. So what else we've got transponding? Jet 2 have an Alicante flight pushing back. Noise in the background, the perennial metro line chugging away. Excellent service from the city and surrounding district into the airport, but you will hear that rumble quite frequently. Let's have a bit of de-icing very quickly while it's happening, because it's quite a... There you go. I'll cut us away to the KLM the minute it starts rolling, which will probably be in a second. I'm just going to take a quick picture of this. And another one. And we better go back to the KLM, haven't we? It'd be awfully rude to miss the first departure of the show. I've had to deploy pocket warmers again today. It's just a bit nippy on the old extremities. And we're off. Amsterdam, here we come. Some of that de-icing fluid being shed there. Up into the blue yonder. Very good. So let's go to our Alicante bound 737. Just rest us there. Didn't notice any de-icing going off for that one, interestingly enough, but in fact I see a bit more de-icing action. That looks a little bit more lively than. Just going to take another picture, folks, which will stutter your screen. It puts scraping your car windscreen in perspective. To be fair, Ken, it would have been overkill on mine. It really was token ice. Maybe if it had been another hour or so, it might have firmed up a bit. Yep, you're right, Ken. Blue plane for a blue yonder. It's one of those liveries, looks good in all conditions, but particularly under sunny. So what, there's some good ice to be shifted there. I think we're going to get that 737 freighter in as well today, hopefully. The one that's ALS Airlines tend to have a daily shuttle between Edinburgh and Newcastle, usually in around 6 o'clock. Although it wasn't in the sky last I looked, it's still actually listed as an arrival, so we might get lucky. Ooh, might have another picture here. Right, promise I've been taking no more pictures of that. Oh, and in the meantime, our Alicante flight is on the roll. Another one that I think looks pretty good in the sunshine as well. Silver fuselage and all that. A bit like, not the same, but similar principle to American Airlines. Always, I think, looks good on a sunny day. It's that cigar tube type thing that I often call it. There we go, passing the best seat in the house. Hope you're getting the bird song as crisply as I am. I know we're here for the planes, but it's quite nice to hear the birds cheeping away in the background. It's amazing how unfazed they are by the noise. See the count ticking upwards, so good morning to anyone that's just joined us at Newcastle International Airport. for our early bird show. Hope your day is going well, whether it's an early start or it's late wherever you are. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark, your host, through till about 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, depending on how the movements play out. Joined on the show by Ken Alloway, our moderator. So, as they say, welcome aboard. Sit back and let the action unfold. Mainly departures this morning. There's pretty much a full apron, certainly around the terminal gates. So you're right, Ken, ASL freighter. Can't remember what I said, but clearly what you've said is what it should have been. Yeah, it usually comes in around 6 o'clock-ish or thereabouts. I think the last time we did an early bird show, it actually very helpfully turned up in the show, rather than, I think it was on that occasion due to come in just before we started. But you know, freighters, they're kind of, I won't say a law unto themselves, because clearly they're not, but they are a lot more flexible in the way they move. If they're able to file a flight plan, then they can often go sooner. Time is money, I suppose, and all that. I think I found that to my cost last year at East Midlands Airport. I was in the region for some work related activity, saw some good freighter action listed and took the kit with me, and I was down the airport in the evening for what I was hoping to be a 7:47 departure, I think it was, only to discover it had gone an hour earlier. You live and you learn. So yeah, a little bit hazy at the back end. Going to get that shooting along the runway, especially in a strong morning sunshine like this. However, it's not raining, and that's the main thing. Now W, good morning to you. Well listen, I appreciate any time. I was saying to Ken, from a moderator point of view, it's, you know, above and beyond, so I'm really grateful, Nell. I hope you're well and looking forward to the day ahead. On our pre-work show, QC Cats, good morning. Look at the sunshine indeed. We don't always do sunshine here, do we, to be fair? How are you, QC, anyway? Hope things are good in New Zealand. Of course, it's going to be some kind of ridiculous hour there, isn't it, I'm thinking. Oh no, you're in front of us, aren't you? So you'll be well into your day. Well, I hope it's unfolding to your satisfaction. It's great to see you. And we're rolling off to Alicante, for anyone that's just joined us. Plenty of de-icer on show there. I think that one went out reasonably heavy. When they come out a bit low, it's always a bit easier to catch up with them once they've overflown me, whereas if they're going up pretty steeply, you kind of have to let them go and pick them back up again. So there you go. So let's have a look. Right to left, Jet 2, Air France, I see Chewy to the left hand side of your screen. There's a couple of Chewy departures around 6:30 if I remember correctly. Another Jet 2 next to the Chewy. Let's just have a look in the foreground. Loganair, Scotland's finest, that usually goes out I think around 20 to 7, somewhere in that region. I'm just being showered with bits of very fine water residue. I don't know if it's de-icing fluid or ice, you know, water vapour that's iced. It's all obviously come off the overflying plane. There we go. Yeah. Still beavering away by the look of it. I'm going to stay with that for a minute. I can hear something else starting up in the background. Ah, so you've doubled up with your spotting. Same plane twice. I've had that experience before at Heathrow. You know, when you get those short shuttles like from Edinburgh and Glasgow and so forth. 5:18 now. Yeah, right. So your day's, well, the grafty part of the day hopefully is done. See what that metro line is pumping away this morning. So, be mindful people keep joining as we go along. A welcome and good morning, a very warm welcome really. Now I'm all wrapped up. Welcome to Newcastle International Airport. Early here of course, but elsewhere in the world, and QC Cat is a great example of that. Different time zones, you know, from New Zealand 5:20 or thereabouts. Anyway, some parts of the world are starting, some are drawing to a close. Do let us know where you're watching from. I'm Mark, on air for the next couple of hours, or less than that now actually. Let's have a quick look. On air till about 7:30, maybe it's 8 o'clock. Depends how the action plays out in the last phase of the show. From show start there were 16 movements expected, 14 of which are departures. We may gain an additional freighter that is a regular here from Edinburgh. It's listed. Weather, as you'll see, is beautiful sunshine. It really is. 0 degrees when I pulled up here. It should rise to about 3 degrees by show's end, so not quite t-shirt weather or flip-flops. So the Plane Sailing Aviation flip-flop range is just going to have to be put on hold for a bit longer. Northwesterly, wind expected at around 10 mile an hour, 8.7 knots. Gusts were described as around 20 mile an hour, 17.4 knots according to the Met Office, but there's no way there's any real gusting at all at the minute. It's nigh on flat calm. Case in point, if we go to our friend the windsock, I mean obviously there's a bit of a flutter there, but that's not 20 mile an hour of anybody's money. So, welcome one and all. Number of airlines on show: British Airways, KLM we've recently seen depart, Jet2, Chewy, Loganair, Air France. I feel there's somebody else I should be with. Ryanair, okay, EasyJet. I think that's it. Yeah, Ken, we're definitely just for the avoidance of doubt. I know we've got a dry shared sense of humour. Definitely not going down the flip-flop line, but it does amuse me regularly, that one. There may be some places where flip-flops really do work, but as in from a plane spotting, not plane sailing experience, but here you've got to be joking. What's happening there? Looks like some fairly leisurely boarding going on. Nobody getting too lively. QC Cap, 13 degrees and very windy. You see a bit of cross runway wind would be quite handy here really. Something that would just, although saying that we're mainly departures, so it wouldn't provide as much of a spectacle as it would on landing. and I suppose the trade-off with sound quality when it gets windy, we're probably best blessed with what we've got on reflection. I've just got to throw this one out for the chat because it was on my newsfeed this morning. Some of you may have seen it. Did anyone see the pictures of Erling Haaland, the Man City forward, on his private jet, or somebody's private jet, in a pair of £1,000 Dolce & Gabbana pyjamas? I think the general chit chat was about, you know, is he basically setting a very low bar for sartorial behaviour, and the general noting that people are generally scruffier, or often scruffier, when they travel. I don't know. I couldn't decide which way to look at it. I thought, if you're on a private jet, you know, pair of pyjamas or a football kit, what difference does it make? But I don't know. Then I thought, £1,000 for a pair of pyjamas. Although when you think about a bloke who's on allegedly best part of £1 million a week, 900,000, if that's true, maybe it's £1,000 worth of pyjamas. It's neither fish nor fowl. QC Cat, don't be setting no challenges like that. She's an ace with the needles. Although the way I said that made her sound like a tattoo artist. Knitting needles is what I actually meant to say. Yeah, I'm not sure. Is that Ryanair transponding, I asked myself. No, not yet. So let's have a look, see what was due out. I'm sure there was a fairly early Ryanair departure due, so whether they've had to wait their turn for de-icing. Not transponding at the minute, so let's just... Silence is me trying to work out why my tablet is frozen. It's unfroze itself now. It's obviously getting in the spirit of the prevailing chilly conditions here. So let's have a look. First Ryanair departure, according to my screen, is 16:35 to Shannon. So I think we'll take a punt on the fact that is the Shannon bound flight, folks. And our ASL freighter, ASL Airlines freighter 737 conversion is on its way to us as we speak. So we are going to get that bonus movement that we got last time. Although they're coming from the far end of the runway this time, so I should get plenty of sight of it. That'd be nice. Treat us to something different. Cathay Spotter, good morning to you. How are you doing today? Good news is, Cathay Spotter, I don't think the action is generally running a little bit behind, so you've missed comparatively little. We've had a KLM departure and a Jet 2 that have gone out, and there's 2 or 3 now that are running a little bit behind schedule, including Air France that was due out at 20 past 6. So we'll catch them all during the course of the show. Things are looking promising for this Loganair departure, I hope. Although I'll feel a bit happier when I start seeing some passengers streaming onto it. I think the last time we did an early bird show here, we had the broken down Loganair, if veterans of that show recall. Hopefully that won't apply today. Right, well I thought that was a Shannon flight, and I've now concluded that I must be chatting out my hat, because look at that. I think that might be the Shannon flight. That's due out at 6:35. Is it transponding is the $64 million question. No, Ken, we're not going to be a merch channel, mate. We'll leave it to those who are better at it. Although, to be fair, Eddie and I have a sort of fantasy, what would you choose approach to merch, and just for our own amusement, really. But that's not what we're doing. Cathay Spotter, the heavy action would typically be the daily arrival of the Emirates 777, which comes in around midday or thereabouts on the summer timetable, and we have a smattering of Chewy Dreamliners, none of which are actually scheduled for this show, although I just see a Chewy 737 has just turned on the far side of the airport, so departure action imminent there. But no, we are actually going to be a heavy free show, if there is such a thing. It almost sounds like fat free snacking, doesn't it, or calorie free snacking. Nell, if I miss your actual departure, have a great day at work, and thank you so much for supporting us this morning. Hope you have a cracking day. Like the fin of a shark. Yeah, that was my very summarised attempt to do the Jaws theme tune badly. There you go. Oh yes, I've got Cathay Spotter. Thank you for hitting the like. It's the old thing that, as Ken's ably asked as well, please do hit the like for us, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. I think most people now appreciate that these things really do help any channel with YouTube and don't cost you anything either, so it's win-win for everybody really, and the beauty is no particular efforts involved. Nell, you have my sympathy. I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound smug when I say it, but it's a lovely feeling when you don't have to think about, as a retired person, I'd rather be younger quite clearly, but the aggravation that comes with travelling when everybody else is travelling. Now, I feel that's going to move in a jiff, but I'm just going to move the camera around a bit. So I think this one's due to go as well. It should be. So we can get some closer action. No. I don't think so, I don't know. Keeping a watchful eye on the horizon for our incoming freighter. Yeah, Ken, I'm working on my rendition of Jaws. In my defence, for some reason I've failed to bring a bottle of water with me this morning, so I'm going to put that down to some very dry vocal cords rather than just not being able to hold a tune. Of course, you and other veterans of the channel know I can't hold a tune either, so take your pick really. So we'll go with this. This looks like our next action. We'll keep an eye out for the freighter. Otherwise it's likely to come out of the sun and surprise me as it taxis up to my position. Then I really will have earned myself a telescope. British Airways are transponding away. I think that was listed as an A321. I've not checked this morning to see if they've changed it. Martin Reed, good morning to you, my friend. Hope all is good. On what is a sunny but relatively chilly Newcastle International Airport. All the promise of spring. As you see from the windsock in the foreground, the wind's not a particular factor today. We are operating from runway 25 end of the single runway here, which for those who are new to the airport is 2,334 metres or thereabouts long. You can hear another startup somewhere, and British Airways are pushing back. So there's your Ryanair, so we'll come to that in a minute. And that's being pursued by a Chewy 737. Apparently Chewy are basing a 5th aircraft here from, oh, I can't remember now. Is it for this season or is it for next season? I'll say this season for fun, but I've just realised I failed to be clear on dates. Either which way, they're increasing the percent. I think it's this summer actually. It's nice to see increasing airline presences here. Loganair have relatively recently based an additional aircraft here. It is a small regional airport, so you know, dancing around that does what it says on the tin. And if you've ever travelled from here, I think it's a pretty good experience. I think you'd agree. I used to use East Midlands Airport quite a lot when I lived in Leicestershire, and I'll be honest with you, I prefer the experience at Newcastle to East Mids. Just a view. Right, our freighter from Edinburgh, ASL Airlines, is imminent. Although I'm struggling to pick it up in the sun. There we go. I won't chase in for it yet, folks, because it might blur on us. I was saying earlier in the stream, far end of the runway on days like, you know, sunny days like this, you can get a little bit murky. There you go. Wow. There we go. There's a bonus to the show. British Airways, it is an A321. Just taxiing past me. So it looks like the rush hour has belatedly started. Well, for Newcastle, and obviously it wouldn't be rush hour in the same way you would see it at Heathrow or Manchester. But look, there's plenty of planes on show. So the Ryanair looks like he's holding still at the minute, but as soon as this vacates, it'll get the nod, no doubt. So, the only freighter of the show, folks. Something for everybody. Michelle Johnson, where are you? It's not quite freighter city here, but, you know, a bit of freighter action for you. Ryanair are just lining up, so we're going to pull away in a second. We'll just take the cut across with British Airways, might make a nice little shot. There we go. Not quite 2 into 1, but... So they're holding at the minute. Something else must be moving over the far side. Right, I suppose we better find our Shannon flight. As with all the other recent departures, plenty of de-icer fluid being shed there. Nice and steep. saying earlier makes it slightly harder to track him. The ones that go out relatively low and flats, you can more or less keep in shot, but the ones that directly overfly you, you don't quite have the same opportunity. Anyway, away we go. Looking down the far end of the runway, see where the action's at. So there's British Airways. Chewy look next to go. I don't want to say. No, they might well be having to give way. I'm just going to bring you into this foreground shot with our ASL freighter again. This is a nice little cut over with the outgoing Chewy 737. Stay with us for a few minutes. Something else is on finals, I see. Which I know Ken will have called in the chat, so I'm just slow catching up. I need more tea. The incoming Ryanair flight from Gdansk is the reason why the Chewy Alicante flight is held. So there's 2 parked to go at the minute, soon to be 3. Well, I am absolutely dazzled by the sun. Jeez. Well, that was tricky. For a minute I feared I wasn't even going to find the plane. Yeah, that was one sunny arrival. So we might get to pick one more arrival up during the course of the show. There's an EasyJet due in from, I'd like to say Belfast, but I might be wrong about that. About 8 o'clock-ish, 8:05 I think it is, so we'll see. We'll stay with this while it exits, and then I'll pull away in a jiffy to pick up the Chewy 737 that is now Alicante bound. 3 departures all stacked ready to go. The Emirates Tower in the background, standing sentinel. I think we will. It's going to take a little bit of finding initially with that fierce sun. There we go. And away we roll. That was just me firing a picture off, folks. Sorry about the stutter. by my reckoning, that gives us British Airways being the next to go. We'll just quickly watch this Ryanair into its gate. My customary shower of ice particles. So I think the next one to go is the